I see my dear colleague, Mr. Khalilur Rahman, Honorable One Advisor, and our PSF, Welcome, and my very good friend and colleague, Mr. Humanitarian colleague, our former ambassador in Washington, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. As foreign advisor said very clearly that when this government, interim government came in, this issue was on their head. It fell off our national agenda. We didn't do much in the previous 7 years, and it was falling off the international agenda. So the first task of this government was to bring it back from the dead. So when Honorable Chief Advisor went to New York, the UN General Assembly last September, one of the things that he did, one of the top things he did, was to ask the United Nations to convene an all-stakeholder conference. The international community listened. They did more than what he asked for. The United Nations decided to convene a whole international, even international conference on the awareness. With that, we were able to negotiate that from the ICU, where it was almost there. The next question was, where did it go from here? Which means, what's the solution? And we very clearly saw the solution as repatriation. Integration was never a solution to us. Integration means we will accept the ethnic cleansing that was being practiced against Rohingyas. We will never accept that. This will not stand. Secondly, if you accept Rohingyas as part of Bangladesh, we will soon become the dumping ground of stateless people. This is not an option. This is our red line. So when we are looking at repatriation, we looked at the couple of playbooks that we have. We had 2 episodes of Rohingya refugees coming into Bangladesh after Bangladesh became independent. And those were dealt with by President Khalilur Rahman and Begum Zia later on, successfully, using, in the first instance, credible military threat, in the second instance, a combination of diplomacy and persuasion. There is a third one that Honorable Foreign Advisor mentioned, that is 1971 refugee crisis, when 10 million people from Bangladesh crossed over to India. The problem with the first 2 episodes of Rohingya repatriation was that it proved temporary. It was not sustainable. We were looking for a sustainable solution. For that, it was extremely important to, first of all, to engage the international community, the regional powers, and to recognize the vastly changed reality in Arakan. By the time I was appointed to my post of High Representative, Arakan Army was taking over vast swaths of land in Arakan. I was there when the Arakan Army flag was raised on the Myanmar side of our border. And we realized immediately that a new neighbor is rising. We have to manage our borders. It doesn't matter who is on the other side. It's our border. And we are responsible for its protection, to make it secure and safe. We have to deal with whoever is on the other side. So this, for this reason, we began to contact the Arakan Army at a working level. But as we were looking at the various, at the solution, we decided that all the options should be on the table, all the options. And the first and foremost option we try is a peaceful way of resolving this issue. And that requires that we speak with all the parties to this issue. We needed the engagement of the United Nations in this. They were providing assistance to Rohingya people by then for about 8 years now. They are acutely aware of the circumstances. We engaged with the neighbor powers, and then we engaged those who are immediately relevant, that is the government of Myanmar and also the Arakan Army. One of the things that became quite apparent to us in the beginning is that there is a very acute humanitarian situation that is evolving in the state of Arakan. The UNDP reported that a famine-like condition is impending. What that means is that it created the possibility of more people crossing over to Bangladesh because they don't find food or medicine or other essentials of life. And we saw people coming to the border for food, medicine, etc., both Rohingyas and others. We could not afford another wave of refugees. We had to deal with this. Why this was a problem, we also realized that this could be an opportunity. Addressing the humanitarian conditions will require provision of assistance. The United Nations is present in Myanmar, but they could not access our home because all the access points were not available due to war. So the idea was whether food aid and other medical aid and other essentials could be provided through Bangladesh, which was the only conduit for this. We wanted the United Nations to tell Arakan Army very clearly what they require to make this happen. First of all, there should be unimpeded access for the aid providers and recipients. There should be no discrimination in the provision of aid. This assistance is done by UN's own networks. Third, aid will not be weaponized. And finally, it's important that armed activities are suspended during the period of assistance. So, in our estimate, we thought, okay, that means a period of absence of war, I'm not calling it peace, absence of war could finally come in. And if properly handled, this could be the beginning of conditions of peace, creating an enabling environment for refugees to return. We had further concerns. First, when I looked at the leadership of our army and the United League of Arakan, I don't see Rohingyas there. So without the Rohingyas, it's essentially a picture of ethnic cleansing. We don't accept that. So we can't wait through United Nations. Our discussions are mediated by United Nations. That we would like to see our Rohingyas selected by Rohingyas themselves in positions of authority and integrating them at various levels of the evolving administration there. We are still waiting for the response. Now, at the same time, it was very important for us to engage the Myanmar government, which had the responsibility to with the responsibilities to review the list of refugees that we gave them in 6 batches, totaling 800,000. We met with them, and finally, on the sidelines of Binston, we finally got from them the clear list of 180,000. And the committee to expedite the review of the remaining 550. So this is where we are today. Now, I'll say a few things about how we go forward. But before that, I've heard questions raised about humanitarian corridor. And I've seen discussions in various media, and I want to tackle it right now. We have not discussed humanitarian corridor. We have no agreement on humanitarian corridor. We have no agreement on anything yet with the parties. You see, when I came back from Binston and held a press conference, I gave full disclosure of what has been happening. Essentially, what I have told you today. There a question was raised about corridor, and I said very clearly that the Secretary General of the United Nations does not talk about corridor. Corridor has got specific connotations. He used the term humanitarian channel, which is completely different. Now, and for any humanitarian activities in Rakhine, you will need the agreement on both sides. And one of the points that our economy raised was, how can we suspend our armed actions when Kathmandu is continuing its airstrikes? And that's what we discussed with representatives of Myanmar government, and they agreed not to bomb or carry out airstrikes if there is no ground offensive by our economy. So, no fighting, no bombing. That gives you a pause in our conflict. So we reached up to that. That's what we have done. Now, soon after I spoke with the press on 8th of April, within a week, from a certain neighboring country, a news portal started a disinformation campaign that we in Bangladesh, the interim government, is about to start a proxy war on behalf of US to take over Rakhine State, install American domination there and exploit the resources. I didn't think much of it at that time. Propaganda is propaganda. There was propaganda against us, as if we are killing all the minorities there. And how did we respond? Not giving it any credence. We ignored it, and today you don't hear it anymore, because finally reality wins. The way to fight disinformation is to allow the truth to sink in. Today, you don't hear any disinformation that was heard against us, that we were taking terrible actions against the minorities. You don't hear that. Because reality is seen by everybody. Now you see, I'm not very disturbed by this whole propaganda, except that you heard this video that was 18th of April. I went to the camp. One of the things that I did was to announce this video. I was going to Qatar, where we had a round table on Rohingyas, and this was one of the contributions. When I was coming back to Cox's Bazar, the GFC of television, who helped me, was instrumental in doing this 1 lakh Rohingya iftar when the situation. He asked me to come over for a cup of tea. And I owed a thank you to him. So I went there. I spent about half an hour, 40 minutes. Then I left. Before I could come back home that evening, the same disinformation network reported that I visited the Commander of 10 Division, secretly met with his top commanders, and we were conspiring to have this proxy war on behalf of America in Arakan. 3 hours, it was reported. Within 3 hours, it was reported. It was written up. It was posted. So see how long the arms of the hands of this disinformation campaign has. See how vast the network is, and see which people become targets of it. So, the thing is, I've seen reactions to this. People say that, okay, we are compromising our sovereignty, we are giving our country away. You see, ask yourself a very simple question before you make these conclusions. If we indeed run a proxy war on behalf of America, who is not going to be affected? China. Why isn't China saying anything? Why this disinformation is coming from another place? We say something in Bangla, right? The aunt has more love than the mother. Ridiculous, isn't it? And then, on top of this, if we are arranging a proxy war in favor of the US, why China has been helping us in meeting with Myanmar government and other stakeholders? You expect the Chinese to shoot themselves? Or they're stupid? And what was the reaction from Myanmar? Nothing about this. So-called proxy. They only made one point, that as a reaction to one of the political parties that talked about a certain kind of territorial arrangement in Myanmar. I'm not going into this, but I want to say this to the Myanmar government. What I told you in my interactions with you continues to be that we do not support dismemberment of Myanmar, and we respect your territorial integrity. This is our position. Not that they're second guessing, but I'm reassuring them. So much for this. But one thing I tell you that, as Honorable Foreign Advisor has said, we will not be able to conduct this diplomacy or strategy building in the marketplace. Nobody does, will not do. Even when President Zia was doing his strategy, he did not inform his cabinet before the whole thing was cooked. This is a long, drawn, very complex process. We are in the beginning of it. And please give us the space and the time to do the right thing. This whole business of this propaganda, this disinformation, was to somehow make Bangladeshis feel that their government is selling the country, or creating an adverse image of the United States, exactly when we were negotiating our trade deal with them. This is also meant to create distance between us and the people that we are talking. But one thing I'm very happy about is that people understand this. Those that we are talking, they know that this is what they can see the real thing on their face. So I'm not worried about our negotiating process with our interlocutors. We'll continue to do that. As I said, we will not spare any option to resolve this. All the options are there. In the coming days, we'll make sure that we come up with a strategy that we think will work, and that will be based not only on our judgment, but also our consultations with our biggest partners. But again, give us the time, give us the space to do it right, and please don't fall for propaganda. This is a too complex a problem that can be left to second guessing. We want Rohingyas to go back, and we believe that we'll find a pathway for them to go back. This will not be easy, but we will do it. Thank you.